Good afternoon. We are back for day 3 of cash management and the SBA 7A payroll protection program. So day 1, we talked about, okay, you receive the funds. Now, what do you spend the money on? Where can that go? And how to maximize the forgiveness of that loan. Day 2, we talked about cash projections and how to set that up and maximize your cash, get it to last as long as possible. And today, we are going to talk about what do you do with the funds that aren't forgivable? So many of you probably won't find yourselves in that position if you're in the construction industry. Typically, we have plenty of labor costs to handle, and with the labor being capped at the $100,000, especially if you're a union contractor, you will definitely exceed that. But there is a situation where maybe you had a lot of large projects over the last year, and you had a high labor force, which caused your average payroll to go up. And right now, currently, you don't have as many projects. And since this program is only offered over an 8-week period, you may find yourself with some excess cash from the loan program. So what do we do in that situation? There's really 2 different options that you can look at. One, hold on to it and pay it back immediately once the 8 weeks is up and you've determined what is forgivable and what's not. That way you're not incurring any interest, you aren't having a payment to pay back. The other option is to go ahead and use the funds and take advantage of the low interest rate. But I want to warn you, this is a loan that is paid back in the next 2 years. So this isn't a loan that you have 30 years to pay on or 10 years to pay on even. So with the higher dollar amount, even at 1%, the short payment terms are going to increase that monthly payment up. So before we decide to use the funds and what we're going to use them for, if they're not forgivable, we want to make sure that we really analyze the cash and our different options. So we talked about cash projections yesterday. And we really talked about that from a week-to-week basis. So now what I want you to do is take that idea of the cash projection and that formula, and we're going to spread it out and look at the next 2 years. So we're going to look at the entire next 2 years. And what you're probably going to do there is look at a couple different scenarios. You're going to have a best case scenario and a worst case scenario. Maybe even you want to have 3 and have somewhere in the middle. But okay, what if the economy opens up, people go back to work, things start picking back up in 3 months or so? What does that look like for your business? What if it doesn't last, or what if it doesn't happen for another 12 months where things are really turning around? What does that look like for your business? So really looking at the 2 different situations, and like I said, you could throw a middleman in there for the third situation and see what's going to happen to your cash over that period of time. So you're also going to be looking at how are you getting money coming in? Because the only way that you're going to be able to pay that money back if you use it is by having funds coming in. So we talked about one way yesterday was to make sure that you're staying on top of those AR calls and getting the cash that is already owed to you coming in the door. But you also want to be looking at what jobs are you going to be doing. So thankfully, the construction industry, many of you are deemed essential currently, and you are still working. Jobs are still going on, which is wonderful. I don't know, and I haven't gotten a good feel how many of you are still getting work coming in. So depending on what industry, what sector you guys are in, it's going to vary. Also, depending on where you live, what your location is, and what is shut down and what's not, what's allowed by the state and what isn't. So being able to really look at that too. How are you going to fill your backlog? Where is the money coming in at? And maybe you need to pivot a little bit. Maybe you need to change your service a little bit. You might be a commercial contractor, and maybe you need to look and get into some residential, and not a residential service that is cosmetic or elective, but more is needed or emergency. So it's about to be summer, someone's AC goes out, they're going to need you. Someone has leaks, they're going to need a plumber. We're living in our homes, we're teaching in our homes, we're working in our homes, we're in our homes all the time. And the one person that they're going to let in their home is someone to fix something that they need to live there. So look at some of those services, any water damage, restoration, anything like that, will have revenue coming in. Also, if you're on the construction side, you got a lot of e-commerce businesses booming, and they need somewhere for their inventory to go. So you're going to have warehouses and distribution centers that are being built. Schools are out currently, so they might move up their workflow in the schools. There might be more processes for safety, but they might allow the work to start earlier. So that would be a good place. Just some cities are getting stimulus packages and might have funding there if you do any city work. So just looking at where those revenue streams are going to come in that will allow you to pay that back. And then you're also going to compare that loan, the PPP loan, the interest, the payments, the cash flow that would be needed to pay those back. Compare that to the current loans that you have. So the PPP program is only 1% interest. You might have another loan that is 8% interest, but those payment terms might be over 15 years. So that might allow for more flexibility with your cash spending. So it might not necessarily be a great idea at this time to use the PPP over that loan, or to use that PPP loan to pay off the higher interest loan. Our goal right now is not to pay off our debt, but to maintain our payments and keep our cash strong. So really looking at those areas and analyzing that. Maybe you have something that you have back taxes, or you have late union reports and payments that are out. Those are incurring fees and penalties and interest. So that might be something where maybe you would consider using some of that PPP money that's non-forgivable to pay towards. You really want to just look at all of your options, really understand where you're going to be. And again, the goal here is to maximize cash and get it to last as long as possible. So I hope that helped. If you liked this message, if you thought it was useful and valuable, please like, share, and comment. Next week, we're going to talk about a little bit more on the cash management side, and how we can cut out some of those overhead costs for you during this time, and just some different ways to, again, increase that cash a little bit, among some other things. So we'll be back next week, and we'll talk to you then. Thank you.